In the news this week, MPs raise concerns over the government's counter-extremism drive, the head of the Royal College of Midwives faces renewed criticism, and a pioneer in neonatal care is remembered for saving thousands of lives. Hello. High-profile MPs have raised fears over the government's counter-extremism drive during a debate on forthcoming legislation. On Tuesday, former Attorney-General DOMINIC GRIEVE and HARRIET HARMAN, who chairs the Joint Committee on Human Rights, said far more clarity was needed on the proposals for EDOs, that is, extremism disruption orders. They were speaking after the government outlined its counter-extremism and safeguarding bill last week. During the debate, DOMINIC GRIEVE said he had considerable concerns over the proposed legislation.
I will also take a great interest in the extremism bill. Here I have to say to my Right Honourable friend, the Home Secretary, that I do have some considerable concerns as to how this legislation is going to be framed in practice, so as to reconcile the rights of freedom of expression, even when the matters being expressed are ones with which we heartily disagree.
Mrs Harman warned that religious conservatism should not be linked to terrorism and challenged the government to tighten up its definition of extremism.
If there are to be under this new bill banning orders, extremism disruption orders and closure orders, it's got to be clear that they are banning disruption, closing something which is going to lead to violence, not just something of which the government disapproves. It's far from clear that there is an accepted definition of what constitutes non-violent extremism.
At the same time MPs were speaking, the government's most senior counter-terrorism policeman was voicing his concerns about the upcoming legislation. Chief Constable Simon Cole, the police lead for the government's Prevent programme, said plans to counter extremism could lead to thought policing. In an interview with The Guardian, Cole said, "Unless you can define what extremism is very clearly, then it's going to be really challenging to enforce. We don't want to be the thought police." For more information about the government's counter-extremism drive, including controversial plans to inspect church youth work, visit christian.org.uk/extremism. The Royal College of Midwives leader Cathy Warwick has faced renewed criticism for her support for the total liberalisation of abortion. Two newspaper columnists who support abortion said they were appalled at Warwick's position. Dr Max Pemberton described the proposal as grotesque, while Libby Purvis said Warwick's attitude is all about the woman. The fetus has no rights, the father, even in a stable relationship, is not mentioned at all. Cathy Warwick is the Chief Executive of the Midwives Group and Chairman of BPAS, Britain's largest single abortion provider. Responding to the controversy, she was asked if there are any times when an abortion could be seen as wrong. "I would say no," she said. "Abortion should be seen as part of the family planning jigsaw." And finally, a man who saved the lives of thousands of premature babies by pioneering neonatal treatment in the US was the focus of a BBC feature this week. Martin Cooney, a Jewish-German immigrant to the United States in the early 20th century, set up an unconventional exhibit in New York's Coney Island called All the World Loves a Baby. For 25 cents, visitors could go and see babies being cared for in incubators. Their money covered the facility's operating costs and helped save their lives. During his career, Cooney estimated that he had saved the lives of nearly 6,500 premature children, with an 85% success rate. More than 60 years on from his death, some of the people he saved spoke of their gratitude for his pioneering work.
My mother had my brother and I, and her doctor said, "Mrs. Johnson, would you mind if I took these babies and put them in Coney Island? It'll save their life." So she's do whatever you have to do. My brother and I were in the same incubator. I was in it for 2 months and he was in it for a month. So that's how we lived.
Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.